The joint pickup. Can you hear us, Mike?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good. Did I shut this?
That way we're not the annoying neighbors. Hi, Lee.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Good. I'm doing good. Hey, Jared, how are you?
Good. How are you? Well,
I'm
you're good.
Thank you. All good, yeah. Do we know Seely's coming though, Mike? You asked her, didn't you?
Well, that's the Canoa meeting, she's not on CJC.
Oh, right. I forgot this is the first one. Yeah. Okay. Right. Got a busy day today. Actually, I would have come in, Jared. I got them mixed up, the actual meetings. Which one was first?
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
Sorry
worries.
about that. Yeah. Sorry about that. I would have done that. Yeah. I had both meetings on there, and I came from meeting the meeting though. So I've been on Zoom all day, Zooms and Teams and Google, whatever it is, like literally switching from. I've had 3 meetings and switched from one to the other. This is everyone different product. So
That's why I come here because I'm in Teams meetings all day. So to come and have a real Lauren and I can get like
right.
3 other things answered, and I can have real people around. It's nice.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. No, I totally get it. Yeah. Haven't been in an office back in a while, so it's definitely been a while. Yeah.
I actually don't know if anyone else will join, so we'll start right at
Oh yeah.
2.
What is quorum? Is it how many do we have on this? 5?
Terms 3.
3.
Yeah,
We have
actually, we
5.
only need
Okay.
3.
Yeah.
So we'll start. Was the meeting properly noticed?
It was properly noticed.
We'll call the meeting to order. Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Approval of the meeting minutes. Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. April financials. We'll pull those up here.
And somebody just
anybody-
joined, by the way.
Ray.
Ray, do you have the CJC financials up?
I can pull them now. 1 second.
Did anybody have any questions off the top of their heads from what you reviewed?
Yes, but so it's more big picture, and I just don't understand how the process works. So, for instance, a CJC employee, let's take for instance our marketing or our person, social media person. If we don't staff it or any other person for a period of time, so we budgeted X amount in the CJC for the year, we don't staff it. Where does that money go to? Does it go back in the CJC? Because I'm not sure I see that, and maybe I don't know how to look for it or anything like that.
You'll run under budget for the year on that line, on the communications salary line item. And
Yeah,
then at the end of the year, if there's a budget surplus in CJC, it'll
Yeah.
get returned back to CROA and Kanoa at your respective splits.
okay, so that's what we could probably expect. Okay. I didn't see if the line item running, if I can't tell because it's also delayed a little bit, based on, so I just want to see what the procedure is basically. Hey, Eric.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, so we
you're not-
wait,
you're-
we wait for a true up until the end of the year. And then what will happen is whatever your overall over under for CJC is, it's split equal, well, it's split respectively based on your percentage splits.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Ray, do you have those
Do you want me
financials?
to? Yeah. Do you want me to share
Yeah,
the
if you'll
report?
share this.
Okay.
Eric, we're
Can you see
on
the screen?
item 4, the April financials.
Got it. Thank you.
I have no questions. That was a good question that Mike had, but I have no questions about the financials.
Yeah, I don't either. I looked at them, but there's nothing that jumped out at me really.
There's nothing really remarkable.
Is there anything that we should know about? I mean, that we're way over, way under, anything that we should point out at all?
No, there was nothing really remarkable. I mean, you had the positive where you came in under budget on the water tower project. Maintenance expenditures are a little high because we've been doing the pulley system and the light repairs, but those are complete. So you should see maintenance taper back off for the remainder of the year. You will see salary savings in the communications line for both the communications manager turnover and the marketing specialist turnover. However, those will be relatively minimum because they were both, I think, vacant for almost less than a month. We got those filled pretty quickly. There is turnover in the ARC covenant staff that you'll see salary savings on, and in the admin staff in the IT area. So you'll see a little bit under budget there because those have proven a little bit more difficult to fill.
You still have an opening for IT or something like that? Is that what it is?
An IT administrator, so it's Dom's
Okay.
support person.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you about. Okay, we will move on to discussion items. The water tower pulley update.
The pulley system is done. Nikki has the farmer's market new banner ordered. As soon as it gets in place, the farmer's market was a little bit delayed in approving the final version of it. So it took a little bit longer than we anticipated to order it, but it's been ordered. It should be here and then it'll start going up every weekend for the farmer's market.
And we can use that same vendor for every
Yes.
sign that
For
we do
every
there.
time, we can use the same vendor and we'll have the specs for everything.
Right.
So Mike, we can give you the specs for the Lexington events as well, if you want to put a sign up.
Perfect, thank you.
We know when it's coming in, so we can actually, I guess, test it. Because remember, we talked about should there be holes in it and blah, 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 make sure it actually works and that kind of stuff. I mean, because if we don't want to put it up for the first time and then maybe Friday night and somebody walks away, or actually maybe Saturday night, somebody walks away and then it somehow takes down the whole tower or something. I don't know. I'm just speculating that.
Insurance, Lee.
I mean, I just think that, we may want to.
Quite a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just redid the tower too.
Right.
Uh,
I don't know if there's.
No, we
some
ordered the
thinking
ones,
about
we
that.
ordered the one with the holes in it, so
Yeah.
the arrow passed through. It's really just getting the team used to taking it up and putting it back down. So
Is it hard
when
to
we
do?
put it up for the first time, I'll take a video of it and send it
Okay.
to
Yeah, that'd be
the
cool.
board.
That'd be cool.
Because it seems to take so long to get banners in, have you guys already gone ahead and ordered your July 4th banner?
Yes.
Water tower lighting. I was pausing because I was thinking about the farmer's market and I just wanted to tell from CROA to Kanoa, which maybe this isn't the place to do that, but maybe it also is, that we were discussing there was discussion at the last workshop about turning that event over to Kanoa.
I think it's on our Kanoa agenda, right? Yeah, we
Okay,
didn't
so
know.
you're talking
we-
about that today then?
We didn't, yeah, we didn't even know about that, I guess. I mean, Lauren did tell us that that it sounded like the vendor did have an ask or something, but it was a CROA, but then you guys talked about it and said maybe it should be possibly a Kanoa thing. So we haven't talked about it yet. But that is the next meeting. But if there's anything you want to add to it, I mean, if there's anything.
I think it just seemed there was collective, and Eric can fill in here as well. There was collective thought of like, this is an event that supports the businesses and brings people to the businesses and is about the businesses and is about the downtown area. So it made more sense to have it be something that you guys have more control in, because you're already, Lexington has to support it with power and things like that. And so, and it's on Kanoa properties. And so that was kind of the reason.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't anything that we thought about, but I will bring it up in the next meeting. Mike and I know, obviously, Mike and I know I'm not sure Sealy knows, but we'll bring it up in the next meeting. We'll let you know. And is that something that we bring back to you, Lauren? I mean, we discuss it and then they bring it back in the Crow meeting, or what? I mean.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll discuss it at your meeting. You guys will let us know what you're thinking. And then, or if you want a couple of days to think about it, as long as I have kind of a decision by Friday of this week from you guys of what you're thinking, or at least to go back and ask CROA about it.
Yeah.
Then I can put it on as an action item for the CROA board meeting so we can keep the farmers market moving.
What's your opinion? You want to keep your opinion to the next meeting, or what do you think? I mean, Lauren, about this. I mean,
so the way the farmers market has proposed this is it would be a net zero expense for anybody who's housing it. So it's not really
no, okay. It wasn't a moneymaker anyway, I assume, but yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't be paying you anything, but you wouldn't be paying for anything for them either. They would own it, and it just gives them an opportunity to grow the farmers market. If it doesn't prove more successful than it has been, because it's been declining, I think we all have recognized that. If they don't improve, then at least we've done what we can to give them the opportunity to improve, and then we can continue to go out and look for a different vendor possibly to bring in a more vibrant market.
Okay, all right. We'll
Yeah,
talk. I guess
it would be nice if it turned over to Kanoa and then grew and thrived from there. That would be the best of both worlds there. So
so it sounds like when you guys heard about it, you said, "Hey, why are we even doing it anyway?" It sounds like it's, it sounds like it might be a Kanoa thing or something like that. So I didn't know if there was a reason for us to get.
I mean, an argument could be made that it's a CJC thing, because the residents would absolutely roast you guys if you canceled the farmers market. So it's very much a resident thing also. And then, as you said, it's also very much a business thing because it brings in people to shop and dine. So an argument could be made that it's more of a CJC thing, but I have no objection if it's a Kanoa thing.
Yeah, I think from the HOA perspective, the biggest thing for us is that this isn't our wheelhouse. Like, we don't really know how to. It's, to your point, Mike, it's a good benefit for, I think, everyone, including the residents. But like, we're struggling a little bit because we see that it's in trouble. And so it's a business. And so we're kind of looking at it going, okay, let's try to use some of the benefit that we get from the Kanoa side of it with your expertise and actually how to run a commercial business side of this to see if there's something we could do there. Whereas for us, it's like, it's not really an event. I mean, it is, but it isn't. I mean, it's really, there needs to be more, of an economic piece there. So yeah, we'll let you guys chat about it, but CROA was just kind of sitting here, and it's once again, as Lauren said, it's not really even a cost factor of it. It's more of just, who can help shepherd this along probably better.
But it's interesting what Mike just brought up, Jared and Eric. I didn't even think about that. Should this be a CJC thing? Is this something that, I mean, could be or should be, I guess. I mean, now that we're talking a CJC meeting, right? We'll talk about it in our next meeting,
You guys talk about that in your next meeting. And if that's what you come back with, then when we have this next meeting, then we'll talk about that for sure.
Okay. I didn't know
I guess both organizations can push it to CJC, and it could be a CJC thing. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
It's still a net neutral and no no organizational support needed. So either way.
Right. Okay, we'll
Yeah.
talk about it then. Okay.
I think by creating a situation where it's a net zero, that will free up the farmers market possibly to do more things with that money. Hopefully, which will include
That's the
marketing.
goal.
Yeah,
And
right, should be, right?
getting
We should
new
have a
vendors.
good.
Yeah, if they're
Yeah.
not paying Croa, then they're bringing in more vendors and using that money to get like artists or things like that, musicians, things like that.
Yeah, no excuses
Exactly.
to get a good farmer's market, really, is we have to take away all the questions, really, any issues.
Okay, water tower lighting plan.
It's done.
There's lights?
There's lights. There's lights on the top. There's up lights.
Great.
Interesting enough, I saw the lights. I drove away and I even texted Mike. I go, we have lights. But I did see the top, and he said, and I didn't go back. I was like, oh, I need to go back when it's not dusk to see the uplights. I didn't see the uplights, but I did see the, so they're both then. Okay, that's good to know. So, okay.
You'll see the
You guys have
uplights when
pictures
we
of
get
it?
that pulley up there.
Yeah.
True, right. Yeah, true.
Nikki's team sent them to me. I'll send them to you guys.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd love to see them.
Cost sharing agreement. So in just overall discussions that have been going on, we've been talking about this 11.8%. Is that what the number is? We need to hard line that number to see if that's something that Kanoa would be able to do, and if we could do this as a 3-year. I mean, we'd like to do it as a permanent thing, I guess, on the Croa side, but I get a consideration of like a 3-year would at least it would let Croa be able to budget responsibly going forward. And the 3 years gives it a window of if it needs to be revised in the future by future boards for whatever reason that it's not working out for whatever side. Thoughts, discussion.
Well, as I've stated before, I don't think we're in favor of percentage because you guys hold all the cards. You guys decide what positions go into the CJC budget, what salaries they're paid. We have no control over those elements. We agree to 11.8%. Who's to say you don't dump 75% of your entire budget into the CJC budget so that our allocation's more?
I see what you're saying, but we're the ones approving the CJC budget, this group here.
Doesn't matter. You still have more votes than we do.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you could put whatever you want into that budget, and there's nothing that Kanoa can do about it. Additionally, you're going to continue to grow, and your expenses will grow as a result of that. Your needs will grow. Your number of accounts managed will grow. Kanoa is not growing, so it doesn't make any sense for us to agree to a percentage that will continue to grow when the level of services and the number of services provided to us won't grow. So
If everything
But
stays the
Crow
same,
is-
then it's really a cost of living increase would be the only thing that we would, would
Exactly.
be expecting.
Croa's growth would be on the Croa side in the Croa staff and the maintenance team, the Parks and Rec team, and the
Yeah, there's no growth in shared services. And the growth is really like less than 500 units, 200.
so
Well-
you'll have 252 next year, and then another potentially 45, 60 for phase 3, and then another 300-ish in phase 4.
So 600 units.
Yeah.
But let's say you
and how many?
hypothetically, you say you're going to hire another IT person, another network person, another, I'm thinking of shared services, you know what I mean? Things that we don't think we need. I think at the end of the day, as Mike's point is, he's afraid that there is a possibility in some realm, not saying that you can do it, but you could say we're adding $200,000, 300, we're adding 5 positions to this thing, and and we'd have to sit there and lose a 3-2 vote on it. That's what it sounds like.
But we
So
talked about,
we need to stop
sure,
that.
but we also talked
Yeah.
about we also talked about a cap where
I agree. The way we could come up with it that way. I don't disagree with you. I think there's ways we can do it. I agree. So Mike, let's say it was the 11 point. I don't know what the percentage is. So I'm just going to make up a percent.
Let's say 12% just for discussion.
12%. So 12% equals what amount of money? Dollar figure was it, Lauren? Exactly. I can't remember.
We're just saying 300 roughly.
Let's say
It's
300.
not,
Okay.
but 300.
Yeah, let's 300 for discussion
let's say-
purposes.
So theoretically, we could say that, you know, that 12% is, but we have a cap of 300. We could do that if there's a cap. Our issue is that I would say, I'm only guessing what Mike will say next, is right now our position we want to be able to say, oh, we're testing this out with this marketing person or this social media person that is a CJC person, but we're paying, 100% of her, 90 or 80, whatever. But maybe we want to go to, maybe it doesn't work out so well or something like that. And we want to do it. We want to outsource it some way. We want to have some flexibility in that. So I think that I'm just thinking for me is I think we can get there if we put a cap and we put some things that there is some flexibilities. Because if you're looking just to figure out what your budget is the next couple of years, we could probably, Mike, is that right? Am I covering those things that are a concern for you or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. When we had these discussions back in October,
Yeah.
and Eric, you were one of the ones that said it. It's like, let's use this year as a test. Let's see if your services are noticeably different. Let's see if you're getting some return on your investment. And I think right now it's too early to say that we've received a substantial return on investment. So I think this conversation could be a lot more, open to numbers, percentages, that type of thing. If this was a little bit later down the road and we could say, hey, look, this is what we've been able to accomplish with the money you've given us. But right now we don't have anything to show for it.
So
Yeah,
you're
that's-
saying it might be a little early, I guess, is what you're saying.
I think it's a little early here to be able to say,
Yeah,
look what we've done,
I feel like we're going backwards in our conversation here, though.
I don't know how.
So I think
Go ahead, Eric.
So I think that the big thing for me is that I agree with you, Mike, that it's a little bit too early to tell on the position and figuring out the return on investment. I think we also know that we're not going to decide this today. And we expect these conversations to be done. So we almost kind of need almost two options, right? Is the way that I kind of look at it. I'm going into this with positive intents, knowing that I think that this marketing person will work out. I actually know that I've received some questions from people on how much did so-and-so pay to have their, ad on Facebook thing. And I've been like, well, no,
Good.
you have to realize that the town hall page is really everyone, including,
Right.
everything like that. These are businesses. And as soon as you say that, they're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I mean, it's been noticeable, right? There's been a noticeable, starting to increase, and I'm hoping that continues so that we start to see some of that. I think that if we were to go in with this, assuming that this is going to work out, right? And then we say, okay, assuming that we're seeing the return, assuming that this is going to be okay, what would everyone be comfortable with? Would be okay with, a cap of, 300, or percentage percentage based off of CPI, whatever we want to do, whatever that is. That's plan A. Plan B is as we go in with this didn't work out, right? The marketing person didn't work out. We didn't see the return on it. This isn't good. We need to kind of adjust what we're thinking from what, Kanoa's contribution is actually. And then that way we kind of have the options figured out so that when we have to vote on a budget and vote to move this forward, we know that we're going to pick kind of either a flavor of option one or a flavor of option two. Because right now it is a little bit hinging on the output of this marketing person, but then also too, I think, it goes a little bit beyond that we wanted to, involve more with Parks and Rec, understanding of what it is. And I think that like Kids Night Out with, some of the sponsorships that they've had, has been good. I hope that we can continue some of those type things where there's a little bit more cross-pollination. But I think we kind of just need to figure out those two. And Mike, something that you said before kind of made me think too with the like CROA increasing the number of positions. Maybe we need to do a little bit more of a hard line. And I don't know, Lauren, if there's a way to do this on these are the positions right now for, if we say, if everything goes well and we kind of choose option A, where this marketing person works out, that we're going to agree on this and we're going to agree to it for a certain time period. Okay, great. We're going to do that, but it's only for these positions. If CROA identifies that, hey, we need another IT person, or we need another, I don't know, porter or something like that, that's going to be 100% borne by CROA. Like, the only things that are in this agreement are these positions that we have already agreed on. These are their salary ranges. They can't, we can't say, oh, well, yeah, we're going to take this and triple their salary or something crazy, to then kind of give a little bit more of a guardrail to it, because then that way we know that if we do need additional services on the CROA side, we still have the ability to do that, but just know that that line for each individual position, this is what's been agreed upon, and anything beyond that's going to be outside the scope.
Yeah, that's something that's easy to write into the cost sharing agreement. You could even put it in there to the point where if there's additional shared services that CROA feels are necessary to support the homeowners association, then that would be borne within the CROA budget. So then you might see, if you add a resident services person to support the additional people in Island Village, then you're going to start seeing a resident services salary line in the CROA budget and not just living in admin in CJC.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to solve it. And I think it could work the reverse too. Like, if we wanted to, if Canoa businesses, for example, were to come to CJC and say they had I don't really know, issue with security, for example, and they said, we need to figure out how we can provide, I don't know, something. I'm pulling something out of thin air here. But I think that if they were to do that, then that way we could say, okay, then that's something that needs to either be brought up back specific to that, line in the Canoa, contribution side of it, or whatever. I don't know. But I mean, I think, to your point, Mike, I don't think anything is going to grow wildly on the Canoa side. I think places that it would grow would be on CROA's services side. And so I think we just need to put a little bit of a, to your point, Lauren, on spelling that out somewhere in the agreement.
Let's say it was 12%, Eric. Like I agree with you that we have to have that stuff that you're talking about. I think it has to be written in there exactly what you're talking about. I think that's perfect. The way,
easy to understand for everyone.
Yeah, no, I get that. But what would, so Mike has always talked about putting a cap, or there's a dollar, the $300,000. Could we do that, or not? I'm trying to think out loud. Let's say it's 12%, again, use that number again. What would be next year? Would it still be the same amount of money, or do we have commitments every year that it's going up X percent? So that 300,000 will be 310, 311. Is it, what's our exposure as CJC / Canoa, basically?
I would say that it always would be the 12%, but never to exceed a number that's so what salaries are, what, a 5% increase a year? What's
4%.
4%. So there's going to be
Right.
4%, but that's not on everything. So maybe that number is somewhere between 6% and 10%. So never to exceed more than that from the previous year.
Yeah, that I see that.
So
that
if this year's 300,
it's going to have to go up to something for salaries or something, right? There has to be a
Right.
number, I'm guessing,
So if this year's 300,000, next year's can't go up more than 300 plus X percent, 7.5%, whatever it is.
Of salary. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mike, do you get that? I'm trying to figure out, because I think what they're saying, what I'm saying is I'm trying to bridge the gap between the two, because I think there is probably a way to accept the percentage, if there is a cap, right? And some things that Eric said, but also the 300,000 next year should, how do we feel, Mike, you and I, as the representatives for Canoa, that it's going to go up because salaries are going to go up, right? I mean, salaries, the contract says it's going to go up, right? I don't know what else is going to go up. Is that anything else, Lauren, that's going to go up? Is it just small
with
percentage?
salaries going up, then that impacts your burden rate, your health insurance, everything, the retirement benefits, all of that I mean, those grow
It's
with
essentially your
salaries as
salary
well.
plus, it's your overall burden rate.
Yeah, could you
Yeah.
estimate that for us? Is
Yeah.
that something you could do for us for the year 1, 2, 3? Is that possible? You can do
Yeah,
that?
I mean, well, so what we budget for every year is a 4% increase in salaries, and then that ties to the labor and burden increases over the
Yeah, but
years.
that's
So
4% of the 12% of the, you know what I mean? It's, so it's, I don't know what number that is, and that's,
no, it's, I
So-
would say 4% is a safe number because,
okay.
But that's just salaries.
But that's
But it's not all
that's not any-
salaries,
yeah.
it's not all salaries
yes,
in the
I
say
can do-
300,000,
I
right?
can do a percentage range.
Yeah, I just did math it on 7.5%, and I'm not saying that's the number. I'm just saying that's the number that I did.
Of the, okay, yeah.
If we did a cap of 7.5%, because it could be less than that, the increase from this year to next year, the cap of 7.5% is $22,000. So it would not be more than $322,000.
And
That
that
would
would
be
be
the
only
highest.
based on, that would only be based on contractual increases and stuff or something like that.
Yes, it
And
could
Mike,
be
we could
less than
take this
that
in the
if it's
Kanoa
not.
meeting, and we could take this information, and we could talk about it more in depth in the Kanoa meeting, how we feel, so. Okay,
And
I
if-
think that's a good way to tie it through is this year we agreed to a 12%, whatever the number is, a 12% contribution, since that's the number we're using to talk about. Move forward years, if any increase is capped by X percent, and any position increases or decreases in FTE counts at the CJC level must be unanimously agreed upon, or it goes to the other party has to decide to accept it in their budget.
Oh, that makes sense.
I
Yeah.
would say, my only question would be on the decrease side, and what you said, Lauren, is if we as a Kanoa board say, oh, we want to hire a third party to do marketing, you know what I mean? Then we want to have the ability to do that. I think that's, you know, and that might work for everybody, right? But it might not work for one person on the CJC board if it has to be, you know, but I think that we're not far off from getting the right terms. It sounds like, you know what I mean? That there is a balance. I think, Mike, is there anything that you think that is a no go for this, or what are your thoughts?
I'd have to digest it. I mean,
Okay.
I'm still a little bit leery of a percentage number, because just as they want to have a percentage number, or they want to know a dollar amount for their budget, if every single year our budget's going to be contingent on what that percentage comes out to be, that kind of restricts us from being able to do our budget too, which is why.
But you'll always know it's not to exceed. You'll always know the not to exceed number.
And you're
Yeah,
saying
we
that's a
had that-
7%?
Well, it's whatever that percent is. But yes, if it's 7%, then you'll always know, well, it's going to go up, but it's not going to go up more than this amount.
I think, Mike, Lauren's going to do a little bit more work on what a salary increase is. So what it could be year 1, year 2, year 3, a little bit. So Jared's back of envelope penciling, whatever. But let's just say there's going to be, if we did it at $300,000 or 12%, there's going to be a salary increase of 4% for those shared services people. I don't know what that equates to, but I guess Jared was guessing no more than $20,000. So year 1, so something like that. That's kind of what they're saying. And because they're so I don't really know. I think that if we put it in writing, we probably have to have not an exact number, but we know what the positions, or you could estimate it, I guess, a little bit better somehow.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely some math that needs to be figured out. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're talking about a person that we pay 15% of their salary, we're not going to pay their entire 4% raise. We're going to pay 4% of the 15%. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
But you're paying 4% of the entire salary number. It doesn't matter if it's made up of 15% of this person, 20% of this person, 100% of this person. That whole number, you'd pay a 4% on that, because it's already broken down by the fractions.
You're overcomplicating the math.
You're thinking that you're being double charged, and you're not.
Maybe I'm overthinking the math.
Maybe,
I mean,
but
the other option here, though, is if we wanted to, I don't want to say, don't panic, Lauren, but if we throw the percentage out the window, right? We're essentially drawing a line in the sand today that if we say the number is $300,000, $300,000. Okay, that's the number we're going to work with. the percentage increase in that, we know it's going to go up by something, to Jared's point, every year for whatever that is. We've just kind of set in stone the organizational structure as it is today. And once again, we're assuming this marketing person works out, right? Which it seems like we're on a good path. So if we assume that, we're all good. We're kind of drawing a line in the sand right now of saying, we're happy with this agreement. We're going to see what it is. Now, 2 years from now, we might decide that we need, I don't know, a photographer to be dedicated to something. Well, that's a different discussion, right? And then that gets into a position that's outside of kind of what we've agreed on. And then we figure that piece out. So we really could back into this with a hard dollar value contribution number with just a percentage not to exceed a year-over-year increase. Now, defining what that actual number is, yeah, that's going to be a percentage based off of budget. But we kind of know this is the number, right? And everyone's like, this is where we're at. We all know, kind of what we're getting, and then we can move forward from there.
Well, and I hate to tie it back to this, but CPI is the best catch-all for a percentage increase cap, because that not only addresses salary benefit changes and contractual changes, but that also addresses change in services from your cell phone bill to your utilities and all of that, because that number captured is a good snapshot in time of what those expense increases have been year over year.
I'm fine with CPI. I don't think that's a bad thing. It just needs to be whatever he agrees to. And so we can look at what your number is. I'm thinking it's going to be between 6 and 7.5%, but then let's also look at CPI and present all the numbers and see what feels best for moving forward.
What is current CPI?
What was the latest CPI? What was it last year? I don't remember.
Who can Google the fastest?
I know Lauren knows it because we've had this discussion, but probably forgot.
I haven't looked it up because it hasn't been 2.3 this year.
Okay, yeah.
For April was 2.3.
Are you interested in? To give you the best information, I need a little more context. For example, are you asking about fasting for health?
Yes.
Okay, well then,
yeah,
more
I
work
think
can be
there's
done
a
on the
way to
numbers.
do it. The CPI seems to be lower than your burden rate or your salary increase rate that you guys have agreed on. So that's something you have to, you know what I mean? So, but I think for Mike, again, I don't want to speak for Mike. Mike's always said we should have a cap of dollar figure. That's what Eric said in a way. I think we can get there either way. To me, it's percentage and dollar is the same. And Mike's just concerned, which he rightfully so, is that there should be a cap because we don't have the votes to stop a cap. So if we discuss it, that's something that we can put in writing and that makes sense in an agreement,
Yeah, we don't have the votes.
I don't see an issue with that.
Yeah.
Either way, it's fine. 12% and $300,000 are the same thing, and
Right.
And moving with
6%
a
and $22,000 are the same thing. So we can just figure out which one makes most sense.
moving forward with a cap also allows us to be able to do our budget and know what we can expect each year.
Right.
Right.
And I think, Mike, including a line in
I
there
don't
about,
expect it. Sorry, Eric.
go ahead, Jared. No, you're good.
I was saying, I don't, that's on the high end. We're saying at the high end. I don't think it's always going to be the full percentage. It just is, that's the protection for Kanoa to know that it's not going to be more than the $22,000, but it might be 18.
Right. Based on just the employees that you have and if there's CPI somehow happens somehow, and also if you had to come to us and say, we need to raise more because something happened, we have to add somebody or do something, then, I mean, things like that happen. Vendors have come to, come to boards before and said, listen, gas went up 100, 200%. We have to do something. So,
yeah,
it's already going, CROA dues are going up 4% because of Kanoa's reduced contribution for next year. And that messaging is going to be out there. So that's already the baseline here. So we have to make sure that this doesn't come off as a bad thing.
I would tell them that Kanoa dues have gone up every single year based on CROA's not raising CROA fees over many years. So I would let them know that. So we have never not raised Kanoa fees ever when CROA didn't raise fees many years. So I think that's something to tell the residents, and also let them know that the money's hopefully going back to the community. I mean, that's our intention. So
Yeah,
Sure.
it's also improper to give the impression that Kanoa using Kanoa dues the way they were originally intended is a bad thing, and that we're taking money from the residents. Kanoa has never taken residential assessments and used them on behalf of businesses. So the fact that Kanoa wants to use business assessments the way they were intended is not a bad thing.
I am just informing you of the communications, so that, because I don't want anyone to be blindsided or surprised. It's the reality of what communications and finance are doing too.
So you're saying the finance committee is going to improperly tell residents that
No,
Kanoa is taking
I
money?
didn't say that at Mike. Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say that at all. I didn't say that they're going to improperly do anything. I said there is a 4% increase coming to CROA members because of the reduced contribution from Kanoa. I didn't say what you just said.
Well, if business assessments had been used for businesses all along, there would be no effect on the residential portion. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
I think-
disputing that at all.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think that's the color commentary that goes on with the discussion, right? I mean, when we have to, it's any look. The majority of people aren't even going to look at the darn budget. I mean, it's going to be, yeah,
Right.
this is what it is. It's just that, you know, the few squeaky wheels that are going to ask the question, they're going to look at it and go, well, why is this line reducing? And it's like, well, this is what it is. And I think it's perfectly acceptable, Mike, to your point, to say, look, Kanoa's had their hands tied a little bit with Disney. They didn't really do much, you know, prior. So now we're trying to right that ship a little bit. And I think it's perfectly acceptable for us to say we should have been doing this increase all along on the HOA side. And so I think that it's just when you look at the budget, that's where the numbers are gonna, anyone that pays attention to it are gonna show. To me, I think it's gonna be a bit of a nothing burger on the HOA side. I mean, overall, yes, we're increasing. HOA dues in Celebration in comparison with our competitors are still relatively low in comparison to a lot of other people for the services that are provided.
100%.
So I think that, you know, the majority of the community understands that. It's just the squeaky wheels that are going to be out there. So, but I think this is good. I think, you know, if we look at this from a direction of, this is kind of like where we're trying to draw the line. You know, we're not, you know, planning on adding a whole nother section to the community. So we don't really think that there's going to be a huge increase in, you know, Kanoa assets, CROA assets, whatever. We kind of have what the picture is at this point. So I think we're in good shape to plant that boat. But then we also know that if we need to change the direction of it, then we just come back and we have a conversation about it and we get to figure it out. I do think though, Lauren, just it's important for us to really identify the positions in the agreement that are like when we draw the line in the sand on, you know, what's Kanoa, what's CJC, what's CROA, all that stuff. So then that way, if we come back and we decide, hey, you know, we really don't need XYZ person anymore, but we really need this other person, knowing who that's going to impact, or if CROA decides something that it doesn't impact the CJC overall budget and those sort of things too.
And we need to make sure those percentages are what you, Mike, and Lee agree to, that we're all aligned up with that too.
Yeah, I think last you, Jared, you brought that up, that maybe we should do more of a this person more percentage, this person. We should go really down the line a little bit more.
Yeah. Maybe they're
and do
12%, not 15%. We should get down
Yeah.
to that level of time. Yeah.
Yeah. That I think is always helpful, you know. So and remember,
And
it's something to reevaluate at some point down the road. So
to the 4% that we were talking about, and to what Eric was saying, like the 4% is only an issue if it's an issue. You know, if Crow is looking at a 20% increase, then the 4% doesn't matter. If we're looking at only a 4% increase, then the 4% matters. So
yeah.
We have not done budgets, and we're not at that point yet at CROA.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Totally understand.
We have plenty of time to screw that up still, so we're okay.
All right.
Which brings us to our next topic of our 2026 budget timeline.
Okay.
All right, so we've gotten all the department heads' budgets back. They've been compiled into the lovely spreadsheet that we've used for many, many years. Though it has been updated with additional subschedules, kind of calling out the big ticket items and really detailing out what they are and how they're attributed to between CROA and CJC. I have a different version of the spreadsheet that I'll be rolling out this year that ties the Canoa overall into that budget as well, so you can see how they all feed together. Then my goal is to get that out to the CJC group by the end of June, early July, so we can come back together, have a discussion. Because on the CROA side, the goal is to have a board budget workshop in August to then kick the budget out to the community by September for a final board approval vote in October to meet our statutory timelines. So
That timeline sounds fine.
yeah, so from the CJC side, we kind of need to follow the same track, and then same with Canoa since you all feed together.
Okay. Any other comments from anyone? When do we want to meet again? Do we want to, I guess we can meet. Do we need to meet again to talk about these numbers that we were talking about, these percentages and numbers?
I think, this is what I think. We have our meeting right after this one. I think we can give Lauren some direction to kind of come up with those wording and then come back to us. I think between us, the next time, I think as a board, our board, I'm not speaking for our board, but until our board meets, but I think that we could get together, hammer out those things. If Lauren did a little bit of wordsmithing to something, that maybe is acceptable and came back to us, we could probably, I don't think that will be an issue for us. We can meet again, so I'm not sure that Mike and I are too far away from, as long as there's a cap that we agree on and some stopgap measures. I don't think there's much more. Is that right, Mike? I don't want to speak for you, so.
I don't think we're far off.
Yeah, so I think that once we have that, so we could do our work with Lauren and then bring it back to the board whenever we have our next meeting, whenever you guys want to do that, I think.
Did we do that in early July when we have our budget then? When we have a first draft of budget look around? Then you're not committing to things without even knowing what the next year looks like?
Yeah, do you want to look at schedules? I mean, because that's obviously a lot of travel time for people. I will be out of the country for. Are we thinking any dates you want to throw out at all? I'm in like Turkey and those places, not be able to, the time change will be really hard for me towards the end of the month. You're thinking June or July, did you say? Sorry.
July.
How about
Okay.
July 15th?
That's when the same day the Canoa board meeting is scheduled, so
Yeah,
if you want to do 2:00 on the 15th.
Sure, I can do that.
okay. Mike, does that work? Canoa board meeting day?
You already have us listed for a Canoa board meeting that day
Yeah, she was thinking of doing CJC that day also.
on same day.
Yeah, like how we are now. Maybe we do Canoa before and then CJC after? Does that make more sense, or I don't know?
So that would put CJC at 4:00.
No, we could start. Oh, well, I don't know if you can start earlier. I can start earlier, but on the
I mean, I
Canoa
can
side.
start it. Canoa at 2:00.
Can you do
I
that?
have, that day is wide open.
Yeah, I can.
I'm on Pacific time, so I can do whatever.
So I could do Canoa too, also.
Okay. I could.
Is it, so that's what you're suggesting, Mike, is kind of do Canoa first and then CJC?
Yeah, that way we can come back with the more concrete number that we voted on.
And we could meet afterwards if we needed to again too. So,
Yeah.
right? We can
So
literally
July
schedule
15th
after.
at 3 p.m.
Yes.
Yeah.
3 p.m. Okay.
Look at that efficiency.
Yeah, good date, Eric. Good job.
I don't contribute much and I show up late, but I can do that part.
It was only approving minutes. So yeah. You didn't read them anyway.
No.
Nobody did.
Sounds good.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by anyone?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Eric, can you hang on just for 1 second for a different issue?
Yeah,
All right.
you got it.
See you guys later. I'm leaving.
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
See you
Thanks,
soon,
Lee.
Lauren.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye. See you. Bye.
Thanks. Can you stop recording? Not because it's